Bea York. I'm an adult content creator, um, which is yeah, pretty straightforward.
And how we can go as far back as we need to, but how did you end up choosing this career path? What about it stood out to you? Did you start out doing something else and then pivoted to this? Like how did that is such an interesting journey to kind of go back and reflect upon.
um, I will be candid. I have always been drawn to adult work ever since I was younger, but never really thought that it would be a good space for me, given that I don't look like most people in the adult industry, and never have. Um, but so I did my whole normal career path, and kind of dabbled in a little exhibitionism along the way. And well, the funny story is that I started off out on Reddit. I'm an avid Redditor. And I thought I would sell panties on Reddit, which kind of led me down into the rabbit hole of doing other things within the adult industry. And fast forward 7 years, and here I am.
Oh my, I gotta unpack that is the idea of selling panties through Reddit of all things. How did that come to you? Was it just so is it because I'm not a huge Reddit person. I've been on it a couple of times, when you're Googling an answer to something you definitely do not know. So you need that community. How did that happen? That's insane.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much like when you Google something, Reddit is a vast place for answers, especially since it's forum based. So you get a lot of input, and there were several guides that kind of break things down. And I was like, okay, this would be a safe place to start if I dabble in that. Um, and yeah, it was just kind of dipping my toes and then learning other things along the way.
Wow. And yeah, I'm curious, what did you do before all of this started? I mean, as you were growing up, if you were looking to go to school or if you were, looking to go into a trade, did you have other jobs that you were, considering before this as well?
Well, I knew I always wanted a non-traditional job, just because I like different. But I was most passionate before entering the adult industry in fashion and retail management. So I did that for pretty much all of my adult life, off and on, until I took the plunge.
And can you don't have to name the exact retailer because I've also dabbled in retail as well. Did you work for one company? Was it a few of them? Was there one you just didn't care for? We don't have to mention any names, but one retail person to another.
Well, I've worked for various luxury retailers and department stores, so I've always kind of stayed within that realm.
Okay, well, I will keep my Target stories to myself then.
I mean, they're fun, but very, very different retail environments. Still very good stories.
Which I'm really excited to hear about your party story later on in the episode. I'm just gonna keep plugging that in to keep you thinking about it before we get to the end of it. No, that's really cool that you had, this eye for fashion and retail. And can you recall, your first, I guess, sort of initial, there's the coffee again, initial interest in fashion, where that came from? If you saw, a runway video, if you were just watching people on the street, where did that interest and that eye for fashion come from for you?
Uh, I mean, it's been a part of me ever since I was very, very little. One of the things I think that always stood out, as like, yeah, this is what I want to be a part of, was of course reading The Devil Wears Prada and Confessions of a Shopaholic before both of those became movies. They were just, I don't know, such fun stories, like, that's just so tied into the inner workings of the fashion industry. Because fashion is always beautiful and pretty, but I liked like the nitty gritty and the chaos of the behind the scenes.
What about it? What about the nitty-gritty and the chaos? I will relate it to this. I work in the film industry, and the chaos of being on set and just some of the tension, yet the fun, it's just really addictive. So what about the chaos of fashion just drew you in?
Um, there's just so much buildup that goes into any like season or event and like just putting it all together, but also like the business aspect of being able to plan out everything pretty much 9 to a year in advance, and the absolute hell that Black Friday used to be, and trying to make goals. And I don't know, it was so much fun. I didn't sleep much. I had way too many energy drinks, but it was a thrill.
Do you get the occasional flashbacks to Black Friday?
Yes, yeah, I if I drink like a normal Red Bull, like that flavor, that awful, awful flavor brings me back to like just how I used to pound them to just stay alive.
Oh god, I can smell it now. Is that weird? Like, I can smell the empty Red Bull. It's from those days. Uh, well, that's a really interesting connection, and, we'll jump forward to, you diving into Reddit and selling your own material, and diving into the, I guess, any performing arts industry, but also the adult industry can be daunting at first. So how did you get from, selling your own merchandise to developing your own content and essentially creating your own business? How did that go for you?
Well, I was, of course, like on Reddit, so you're very person to person, like you're selling to one particular individual. That customer is like speaking directly to you, and you have that open communication where you can be like, oh well, will you do X and Y for this? And I was like, yeah, maybe I will. And then, as you grow into expanding your offerings on a person to person customer base, it turned into, well, will you make this video for me? um and I was so nervous because I have had no experience. Um, and so it was with a customer that I had worked with for a while, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. And then it did suck. It's definitely not great. Um, but it did suck, and it was pretty fun. And I did that several more times until I had a catalog of videos to create like a, I don't know how familiar you are with sites where you can purchase adult videos, but I set up a shop on ManyVids and kind of started developing myself as a brand. um, and I would get more custom videos, and I don't know, custom videos are one of my favorite things and my bread and butter of business for a while.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you had to dive headfirst into video production. Like, right away. Did you have experience before that, or was it "Okay, I put the camera here, and then do I need a light? Like, what is lighting? I don't know what to do."
Oh my, I could really, really get into this because if there is one thing that like they don't tell you when you decide to be a solo content creator, a solo adult content creator. Because I was just entering this world of like, yeah, I like it. I like being in the adult entertainment world. Um, and I enjoy sex work as a whole, but they don't tell you that you need to know so much technical stuff. And I knew nothing. I actually bought my first digital camera, like real digital camera, in 2020 because I had to start evolving. And now it's something that I'm very passionate about. And my goal is to actually be, I want to create the highest production value as a single solo content creator as I can before I'm done within the industry. But yeah, I've had to learn everything from lighting to I didn't even know like camera basics, and I was getting so frustrated because why is this not point and shoot? It should just be easy. You push a button and it should record me. But no, there there's a lot of learning.
I'm guessing this digital camera was probably like a DSLR, right?
No, it's a mirrorless camera. It's
Okay.
actually the Fujifilm X-T4, because I'm a Fujifilm nerd now, apparently.
Well, with all the amount of hours I assume you put into researching how to use it and making it look great, now I mean, that's your brand. You're stuck with it now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely become a part of my brand as a whole. I think I have a small following of people that just like me because I love talking about gear, which would not be the same me like 3 years ago.
So now you can dive fully into, lighting kits and cameras and, but, as far as, like, editing goes, did you jump into iMovie or did you download a bootleg, Premiere Pro and go, "I don't know what the hell a render is, but it's really ruining my day."
What is the one that's on PC? It was like Movie Maker Magic or something.
Yes.
That was what I started with, and then I finally had to get a nicer computer so I could but I had switched to a Mac, um, because at the time I was recording on an iPhone, and it's just so much better when it's the same. So I got Final Cut Pro, and that's probably like the next big step is like actually learning like the nitty gritty in Final Cut Pro because I've been doing the same system. Like I had to learn like color correcting and color grading and uh, like
Wait, you were
the you can definitely tell if you go through my work year by year is like, oh, she was learning how to put a vignette on.
just cuts to, the 1920s montage transitions for no reason in the middle of the video. But that's no, that's so cool though. You've essentially taken in a whole other trade while working on your own business. And like you said, video production is no joke whatsoever. So have you it sounds weird, but have you gone back and looked at your first, sort of plethora of content compared to what you do now and just thought how far you've come? Like have you had a chance to compare and contrast?
Of course. Well, because a lot of my older content still sells regularly. And so there's that initial moment of cringe, like, oh man, I had no idea what I was doing. It's so bad. And then it's just like kind of like also being that person that can say, like, hey, guys, it's okay if you're not great when you start out. You can get there eventually, but people aren't always consuming your content because it's like the best looking from a production value. They're buying it because it's you and consuming it because you're the star and making it special.
Yeah, and it's a different medium podcasting, but the first episode of this show we did 3 years ago is god awful. It's 2 people that were sharing 1 mic, and the sound is horrible. It's just there's no format. It's absolute garbage. But yeah, it's nice to look back and go, I've grown so much since I first started doing that. And I guess now that you've had years to hone your craft and practice and really develop this sort of content schedule, what's your day-to-day like now? I mean, I guess we could go for the month too, because you're probably planning ahead. So what's your work month usually like between making content, time for yourself, and then time for other things as well?
I wish I could say that I'm really good at planning ahead, but um, no, for the most part, I do try and like batch my content and like set aside certain days of the week. The most important thing that has helped me like so much is having set days off where I try not to do anything. I'm also super lucky to have a very separate workspace. So, you know, all my equipment and everything is here, and I walk out the door, and I even leave my cameras behind unless I'm planning to do some fun shooting. Um, But yeah, it's pretty much just having set days during the week. Like, okay, this is when I'm going to film. This is when I'm going to make like more amateur style content. And then Monday is usually supposed to be editing day.
You save Mondays for editing? Oh,
well,
no.
well, Sunday is my fun day. It's like my set day off where I like, party hardy or enjoy myself. So usually the next day I'm like, oh well, I feel all bloaty because I ate like too much fried food and had too many beers. So I don't want to be in front of the camera. I'll just sit at my desk.
That's fair. I can completely relate to that. I don't do self-tapes on Mondays. Not at all. And, speaking of the free time that you allot yourself, what do you like to do that helps you decompress? You're not thinking about work, you're enjoying something else. What are your hobbies? What do you like to do?
Free time. That would be so nice. Um, I wanted to be an entrepreneur so I could work 24/7. Um, that joke never gets old. But well, I like photography. And one of my big goals for this year is to stop being so shy and reach out to other local creatives and be behind the camera for a change, and get better at that.
Wow. Are you just a naturally shy person, or does it when it comes to like really?
I'm so yes. Yeah, I'm very, very like scared of like I guess it's like that fear of rejection. Like, oh no, I don't want to hang out with you. Okay. So like
Does
it takes a lot for me to be like, yeah, you want to do this sometime? Yeah, let's do it.
does the separation, especially over Zoom, does that help, or was doing this kind of jarring for the last couple of days?
I mean, it's a little better when it's like set for me. Like, okay, I have to do this thing now. But like if I have to like approach people, oh my gosh, it's scary.
Well, as a fellow introvert, I need to ask you, what are your coping methodologies to talking to somebody you don't know or approaching somebody in lieu of like collaboration or maybe even friendship?
um, I don't. I don't know. I usually depend on encouragement from friends. Like, okay, do this thing. Okay, I'll do the thing. I'll be a big girl and do the thing.
That's
Um,
that's
but yeah,
fair.
put the work on others.
Well, that's I
Probably
mean
not
either
the
way.
best.
Well, it's a great goal to have to, get out of your shell, and I feel like once we cross those boundaries, you start feeling more, confident and alive, and, not say it gets easier talking to different people, but, you take each one as a win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always happy when I do put myself out there. It's just so scary to get to like that point. Um, yeah.
I always like asking other, shy folks, how they deal with that, because some people like to, I don't know, they go into the bathroom and they do breathing exercise, or somebody puts in like a POD song, in their earbud, and somehow that helps. And then they go and there's the POD song may have been me. But
Yeah, that's
there's
really specific.
yeah, like, okay, all right, I got this. Okay, I'm gonna go talk
Oh,
to this
I love
person.
that.
Um, uh, I've gotten better. But I do want to talk about your love for. I did read that you're a craft beer nut, so we can talk about that if
Snob,
you'd
yeah.
like. Are you a beer snob?
A little bit.
How so? I got to hear more about this.
I mean, I won't drink anything that's like mass produced. I just will call it swill.
What's
The
not
only thing
bad?
I will drink is like PBR in like an ironic way, with air quotes.
Wait, what? Is there any footage of you drinking PBR in an ironic way? 'Cause that would be amazing.
No, because I haven't done it since like my early 20s.
So what's your go-to craft beer then? What's your style?
Uh, so I like dark dark beers. I like browns and reds. And definitely like stouts. Oh, also I will consume Guinness like all the time. Okay, that is special.
I don't think anybody would blame you for that.
Yeah. But yeah, I think my favorite one, it's not too far from Seattle. It's Boundary Bay Scotch Ale. And it's nice hearty dark beer, dark-ish beer.
Ooh, wow, see, okay, I'll admit, full force, I'm allergic to alcohol, but I was a bartender for about 8 years, so
Whoa!
I can sample it, and I know every single taste. My friends are listening right now and are yelling at the speakers, but no, I can taste it, and I know, like, stout was always my go-to because it was the one that was not as hoppy, not as crazy. I will say if you haven't been to I'm based in Colorado. If you've never been to Colorado with all the breweries they have here, especially in Denver, you will find amazing beers on every friggin' corner. It's insane.
Um, I bet. I'm sure it's very similar to like Seattle. And then also San Francisco is really good for having a lot of breweries.
See, I didn't know Seattle was so big with that too. Is
Oh my
that
god.
something recent or has that always been that way?
I mean, it's been definitely a thing since I moved here about like 11 years ago. But they really like IPAs here, which is not my favorite.
You're not going for the double hazy IPA on a rainy day?
Ooh, no, thank you.
Okay, well, we got the darks, the stouts, those are your go-to beers. Now let's compare the geekiest thing I could think of, Star Trek to Star Wars. Which way are you going? Because I heard that you're a bit of a sci-fi aficionado too.
Um, I would say I'm pretty split 50-50. Yeah, it's pretty split because I mean both franchises have done pretty well with expanding their universe, and that's what like draws me in the most. But I would probably say I've consumed the most Star Trek content.
Ooh, does that include the original series, like that era, or more of
So
they've had a resurgence recently with all
yeah,
their material.
um, touchy topic. There's some hits and some misses. I actually haven't seen all of the original series. I've only seen about halfway through, but aside from that, I've watched every other franchise except for Discovery, which I think is one of their weakest ones, but it has some of the best characters, so I'm giving it another watch. It's yeah.
Is there one you favor more than the others as far as series go? Like, are you a TNG fan or
So I usually go with Voyager because it was my first. Even
Oh, snap.
though it's kind of weird and problematic in its own way.
I don't think I've seen Voyager since I was a kid, if I'm remembering the
It's
right
kind
one.
of silly sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say, like, Star Trek is winning me over, but I grew up full force a Star Wars fan. But for some reason now, Trek is just I think it was the 2009 film that made me realize, "Oh, there's more to this than just the old TV show. Let's try this out." That's
Yeah,
cool.
that was like one of those things I was like, "Oh, it's not just for nerds. It's actually really cool." And then I was dating someone at the time who was watching Voyager while I was doing some of my homework and like I kept like getting distracted and like, "Ooh, this is kind of cool."
Now, with that being said, I mean, do you go to comic conventions or sci-fi conventions as well? Do you venture I know you said you were shy, but when it comes to the trek, I mean, you gotta literally make the trek out there and go, see some things. Sorry, that was a horrible, horrible pun. But yeah, have you ever been to like a convention or anything like that?
Well, I have gone to the Emerald City Comic Con, where I did meet Michael Dorn, and I was very, very excited. Um, And yeah, that's about it. I usually like, I don't know, there's always like some sort of scheduling conflict for me. Like there was a really cool like Trek specific convention, but of course I didn't find out about it until too late, and it was like I was working, but it was also around the corner from where I was working, and I'm still sad.
Oh my god. Is that an annual thing? Will you have a second chance or
I think it was like one of the last ones that they had done at the time. Like this was years ago, and I don't know. And maybe I just haven't known the right places to look to like know these things in advance so I can plan, because it's not as big as like Comic Con, which you get lots of emails about and can like plan ahead.
yeah, which like you said, you're an entrepreneur. You're working 24/7. You can only plan ahead so many days or weeks, right?
Yeah, or at
Which
least try to.
yeah, you said you have very limited, if any, free time, but with the free time that you do have, I do love looking at like mental health and self care. Do you have any practices that you follow to kind of bring you back to neutral and allow yourself to really relax in between, either shooting or planning or going to an award show? Do you have anything that helps you?
Um, Nothing specific, but one of the biggest things that has helped me a lot is learning to accept that I can't do everything by myself, and that's okay. Like, not everything needs to be a high volume day, a super productive day. Listen to my body when it says that it is tired and it just wants to be a vegetable and watch TV.
Do you have anybody helping you out as far as the administrative end goes, or are you doing this all yourself?
It's all me.
Oh my god, dude. That's insane. Oh, well, that makes sense as to, why when you have a day off, it's time to relax. I'm not doing shit today.
Pretty much. That's why I had to like do the set days off where I'll like find ways to like do things.
Well, and with that being said, I've been asking this, to a lot of guests recently, and it's now that we're on the back end of COVID, the world's somewhat going back to normal as far as functionality goes. What do you have planned for yourself in the next 5 years? Do you have a goal in mind? Do you have, I guess, a perception of yourself 5 years from now?
Um, I hope to still be doing what I'm doing now, just better. Um, I think that's the biggest thing. I think at that point, I would like to have just become more knowledgeable and skilled in the things that I'm working on. And I'd like to feel really good about um, being behind the camera with other people because I've not wholly mastered filming and photographing, words are hard, photographing myself. But I know a lot. So it's now like, how can I do that for others and get really good at it? Because at some point, I will probably be too old to be a adult content creator. And I'd love to pivot away from that to just more back end work.
And it sounds like you're on the right track for that. Just now you just have to venture out and talk to those people.
Oh man, so hard.
Take a deep breath. You got it. No,
We do this.
it's gonna be awesome. With your experience being in front of the camera, I can only imagine how, I don't want to say easy, but how comfortable you'll be behind it, knowing that you're not going to be in front. You can focus on the aesthetics and the filmmaking and geeking out over Fujifilm, which is amazing. I do want to ask, as we're wrapping up here, if you have a party story you could share with our listeners. So this
Oh
being,
man,
I know it's,
I've been
I,
stressing about this.
I gave her, I don't know, a 30-minute heads up, and I don't think that's nearly enough. But uh,
No.
let's think of, usually the stories we have here on the show are pretty humorous. It's just, humorous or an awkward experience that's happened during your career that just stands out more than most. So it could be you going out to a convention, an award show, making content, editing content, talking to people, picking up a publicist, what, if any, if there's a story that might stand out to
Oh
you.
man. I'm sure there's one, but now I can't think of it, and I've had all this time to prep. Um, gosh,
I
no,
can
there's
give you an example and just give you a few more seconds if you want me to stall for about 30 or so. Okay. So I can't use my Matt Bomer story that I used, oh my god, like 2 episodes ago. But I will say, it was an event at Sundance years ago where I went to a wrap party filled with all of these stars I didn't know. I was so nervous. I was this newer actor. I didn't know what to do. So I'm walking around in my safe space. I'm like, okay, it's really loud in here. I'm going to go just to the bathroom. I'm going to do the movie thing where I wash my hands and splash water on my face and see what happens. So in the process of doing that, the bathroom, nobody was in. It was super quiet. And then two, I'll just say shadows because they moved so fast, just burst through the door. And then both of them went into the bathroom stall and I thought, oh, okay, this is gonna be like a very intimate interaction I probably shouldn't be here for. But I start to hear chop, 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 metal on metal, and I heard 2 snorts. So I was in the vicinity of 2 guys just straight up taking cocaine rails within a Sundance rap party, and that's when I knew I kinda made it in the industry at that time. Uh, so that is my or one of my party stories I always look back on because it took me years to really realize what was going on. So yeah, that's my example, if that helps at all.
okay, I don't know if this is definitely not gonna top it, but the thing that comes to mind is, and it's just super simple, but, okay, so last year there was, it was the CAM Awards, and this year it's now the Creator Awards, but it was XBiz's, like, more like solo content creator award show, and I was up for a nomination, but, like, I'm just a small fish. I had no expectations of winning, and met some really cool people while I was there, and I was like, "Oh, this has all been really fun." But you know what I really want? I really want pancakes. Like I just want to find a nice little diner once this is all through, um, and we can just like finish off this like week of like hardcore work and with the award show and everything wrapping things up and just enjoy some nice pancakes. Well, anyways, I ended up winning the award and I was like in shock, and they were like, B, if you want to like party and celebrate, that's fine. I'm like, no, I still want pancakes. And it's not much of a story. It's silly, super silly, but I feel like it's very, very me to be like, "No, guys, we're not partying hardy. We're getting pancakes." And yeah, those are
Oh
my
my
priorities.
god, no, that's I love that story because I think so many people can relate to sitting there. Others are gonna wanna go out for drinks, party, stay up late. The average person, a true human being, wants fucking pancakes. Like, that is I love that story. That makes me feel better about my own, like, internal thoughts when I'm in situations like that. No, that's fantastic. You crushed it. That was awesome.
That was so stressful. That was probably the most stressful part of like my whole week, my whole month.
Oh, no, it's gone. It's over. It's done. We're good. We're good. Last few things I have for you, it kind of goes along with your experiences as an entrepreneur. I do want to see if you have any advice you could pass on to our listeners as far as, developing their own business, whether it's creating content or building a brand, really building something for yourself. Is there something you've held on to that you could pass on to them as well?
Um, I would say, and it's probably not the easiest to come by, but community helps so much, whether that's like other people within your niche, within like your um I guess space, your selling space, or just, some sort of commonality that you have to just help bounce ideas off of and kind of keep you going. Um is is super important. Like I'm still really good friends with people I know from Reddit, even though I've transitioned away from that um, quite a bit since those early days. And I have friends that are um, in photography and like cinematographers and things like that. And just having people that you can like be inspired by and talk to and guide you essentially really makes a difference. So it's probably not the best advice coming from an introvert like me, but finding ways to like squirrel your way into those communities um, builds friendships, everlasting friendships.
No, I think that's beautiful, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize when they're doing something creative. You can't do it by yourself. You need to be surrounded by folks with the same, I don't wanna say ideals, but, creative flair that you can bounce, like you said, bounce ideas off of. No, that's fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing that. I don't think anyone's brought up community before. That's really cool. I also want to ask if you have anything I can give a shout out or promote within the episode notes of this week's release. So it could be, your social stuff. It could be an organization you really believe in, a charity, sky's the limit. Is there anything I could plug for you?
I mean, aside from promoting me, um, no, nothing specific. Just do good where you can, and that's important. Um, yeah, I'm not going to tell people what to do.
Well, what's your handle? Where can people find you?
Well, it varies from site to site. My Instagram is at you Bea York. The little U's there because Bea York was taken, and U for user in Reddit. But anyways, the easiest thing to do is just Google Bea York, and you will find me.
Perfect, perfect. Sorry, I'm taking notes. Your girl be York. Hopefully I can read my own handwriting. Okay, perfect. Well, we're wrapping up here. I just want to say first and foremost, this has been awesome chatting with you and sharing, introverted experiences with somebody else. I feel very seen right now. I do want to ask as we wrap up, there is a little thing we like to do on the show. It's called an awkward goodbye. And the point of origin for it lies within the film Wayne's World. Have you ever seen that movie?
Um, I saw it when I was a little bee, very small bee. And I don't think I've had the chance to rewatch it since, like, the early '90s.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, the scene that gave me this idea was Wayne leaves Garth during their big corporate production, and Garth is left in front of the blue screen, just mumbling incoherently and has like no idea what to do, and is very awkward. So what I like to do is I give you a 3, 2, 1 countdown, silent. When I point to you, just give us your best verbal awkward goodbye, and we'll end the recording on there. Does that sound good? Okay.
Okay.
Super awkward. Gonna be super awkward. Here we go. In.
Oh my god, this was so much fun, like, bye. Oh my god. Oh my god. I can't believe this whole thing happened. Oh, oh, it was so swell. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Goodbye.